Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us while we break balls and try to outwit each other at every turn while debating all things nerdom and trying to make sense of this world. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Raiderlance, and I am here by myself again. This is part 3 of the Andrew Tate case update. This time, I'm going to focus on Andrew Tate versus Bruce Rivers, the criminal defense attorney who has been reviewing the cases, giving his reaction videos. I have a bit of a cold. I'm in a really bad mood. And I'm going to try to stay organized, but I am probably going to be channeling my inner Bill Burr by the end of this podcast and going on a little bit of a rant. So if you want to get to the fun stuff and the profanity, you can check the description and the links or the chapters below, and you could just move forward. All right, let's do some housekeeping. Please like, share, subscribe. We're moving to video soon. I might even, after I learn video editing, try to republish and practice with this episode and get this out in video. So I got to work on looking at the camera, not fiddle around as much. I apologize. I do have my outline behind the camera, so I will be reading a little bit. Apologize if I don't have proper eye contact. Oh, real quick, almost forgot to tell you guys, regarding our gift card giveaway, we have a winner. It is Simon Tartar. He's a scholar and a gentleman. He was the third applicant. We rolled a 3 on the number generator, and he was the winner. So we contacted him. Again, big congratulations. We appreciate everybody who entered, everybody who subscribed. Thank you all. All right, so here's going to be the game plan. I'm going to give you a little bit of my perspective on the mentality that criminal defense attorneys have. Then I'm going to go specifically into what they call wiretapping, which is the WhatsApp chat logs from the 2 women that were in dispute. And Bruce Rivers did 2 videos on that, and I'll kind of mush them together. I'll play you some videos from that. Then I will specifically address what I really like about Mr. Bruce Rivers and what I really dislike while watching some of those videos. So I will try to stay organized. I will try to keep this quick. Bear with me and, comment. Let me know what you think, if I'm wrong, if I'm overreacting to this. So couple stories about defense attorneys. First, I should tell you, I am a California attorney. I do not practice in the area of criminal defense. I just do not have the psychological profile to do well in that area of law. So I stood far clear from that. So from that perspective, Mr. Rivers is the man. I do not critique any of his legal analysis. I do have some good friends who are prosecutors, some good friends who are criminal defense attorneys. I think in general, criminal defense attorneys have a moral flexibility that is required to do their job. And what am I talking about? Well, let me give you a couple just kind of stories that I saw coming up. So when I was a law student, I was at dinner with a couple of attorneys, a couple other law students. No, I think they were attorneys at that point in time. We were having dinner at a yakiniku bar, which is a Japanese barbecue. And so there's this female Jewish attorney who went to USC, and she must have done some type of externship and I'm not sure if it was state or federal level, but she was doing criminal defense, and it sounded like it was sentencing, the criminal sentencing, because obviously she couldn't have done a full trial. Now, I don't exactly recall the facts. This was a long time ago. But essentially, the defendant was a monster. I'm pretty sure it's multiple murders. And no one would be willing to defend him. I think that's why it was a pro bono kind of situation. So she stepped in as part of her externship. And she recalled there was nothing. She had absolutely no reason to get this guy less time. He was a maniac. And she's up there making the presentation to the judge. And there's this moment where she's looking at the judge is looking at her. She knows she's full of crap. He knows she's full of crap. She knows that he knows that she's full of crap. And they both had a hard time kind of swallowing the situation and keeping a straight face. And when she mumbled through whatever incoherent thoughts she had and presented, because she had nothing, not her fault, the judge just looked at her, took a deep breath, and went, "Thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I will keep it into consideration." Now, that's an average attorney story. The problem with it was at dinner, she's taking sake shots, laughing about this. Not, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Just like she was at a comedy show. So I was kind of mortified. Like, why would you put yourself in that situation? But, I was young and naive, whatever that may be. Then another time I'm in law school, and it was professional ethics or criminal procedure. And they're talking to this attorney, or I'm sorry, classmate, soon to be an attorney. And I just picture Callie McEnany from the press secretary of the Trumps, not as polished, but that intelligent, that well put together. My friend was former military and just a brilliant woman who always treated me great. But she was a little bit more down to earth. She was, like I said, former military. And so I always held her in high regards. And so the professor's sitting and he's asking her questions and they're going back and forth. And the crux of it was, are you going to have a moral issue when defending these type of people or that type of situation? And I'll never forget her response. She put her pen down, sat back in her chair, and she said, you know what, I'll tell you this. I will sleep a lot more comfortable at night in my big, comfy bed. Inferring that she would rather get paid to do a job with questionable moral and ethics to it than to sleep well in her small apartment with her budget mattress. That's a special mindset that I'm not on board with it. All right, last situation. Sitting at a dinner, loosely knew some people. I was not in the conversation. I was on the outside of it, but there's a criminal defense attorney, and he was pleasant enough. And he's talking about defending some young kid. I don't know what this kid did. I don't know if he deserved what happened after. That's not my point. But essentially, this kid was found guilty. Then he's meeting with his attorney after, and I'm not sure what the situation was. But the young kid asked his defense attorney, what am I going to do? Which he's referring to in jail. What do I do in jail? And the defense attorney just says, well, find a really big guy and become his girlfriend. And when he delivered that to the dinner party, I don't know what this kid did or deserved, but it was the defense attorney's shrug after that and then taking a sip of their liquor is what really bothered me. Oh, well, I did my job. You were hired to be this young man's champion, and whether he deserved it or not, I don't know. But to be so flippant and careless about it, just, man. So my point being is there is a side to criminal defense where you have some moral relativism. And I don't know how to apply it to other people. I mean, I kind of did it in last episode when I talked about sellsword and how you're a mercenary and your ethics are for hire. You can have ethics and you can, or, like assassins, you could have policies like no women, no children, right? But your morality is what it is. But then when you get hired, if you didn't funnel or filter stuff out, now you're on it for the ride. Now, what I will say is there's a lot of defense attorneys who don't think like that, who have this crisis of conscience. One of my best friends is a criminal defense attorney, and he has a backstory. I understood why he went down that route. I think he wants to make sure people don't get railroaded like he was railroaded when he was younger. I respect that. I agree with that. But taking on that mantle, you are going to defend some people you don't agree with. You're going to defend some guilty people who hurt other people. It's normal and good to have a crisis of conscience in that situation. And so he had one, and I had a discussion with him about it once. And here's how he came out on this. He found a mentor, and that mentor gave him something that he could hang his hat on. And that was, you are not here to get people off. You're not here to find loopholes and get people off on technicalities. You are here to make sure that people get fair trials. I can live with that. I can have dinner with somebody who thinks like that. There's no issue there. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to be around it. But I truly believe that defense attorneys are crucial to maintaining the status quo and the liberties and freedoms in our American judicial system. It's a necessary job. Everything they do to ensure their guilty clients receive a fair trial is the foundation of what's needed for innocent people to get a fair trial. Okay, so that's where I come down on defense attorneys. I'm going to shit on them, but I'm also not going to shit on them. It is extremely crucial and important what they do. I just have a problem when it's without morality. So, with that being said, with those little stories, I ranted a little bit. Let's get into Bruce Rivers' analysis. Okay, so when I'm talking about Bruce Rivers or I'm talking about Tina Glandine as defense attorneys, just always crunch in your mind, what do you think their motivation is? Is it moral relativism? They believe, people should have fair trials, or do they have the moral relativism where they just don't have morals? They're just out there for the paycheck. So that is for you to decide. I'll give my opinion a little bit. Let's go into Bruce Rivers and when he specifically talked about the Andrew Tate case. And on February 16th, he did a video where he examined the alleged wiretap leak in the Andrew Tate case. Now, this is where we had the patched together excerpts of the WhatsApp chat between the two females that were alleged victims. And he went over that, and I'm going to skim over it. I'll give you a link to the video so you can see what he said. So in my viewing of it, Mr. Bruce Rivers gave a broad definition of how the documents are admitted into evidence, and that those documents must be authenticated, meaning have reliability, or as he called, foundation. So he's just talking in general when documents are entered into evidence or in a court case. Now, in Mr. Bruce Rivers' opinion, the documents he was reviewing, the patched together, paste together WhatsApp chat log, he said that they were cut and paste or edited and not in their native form. And he was correct on that, and we'll go into that later. Mr. Rivers also said that there were issues with the timestamping, being that most of these were timestamped relatively at the same time, which it could not be possible in a WhatsApp chat conversation. It would have different time stampings. Then he makes somewhere in the video a reference to Andrew Tate supporters eating Cheetos in their mother's basement. He fit that in somehow. Then he goes and he reads through this document and he reads a number of excerpts. And he states that the way the document was constructed, it was designed to undermine the credibility of the accusers because of the content of their conversation. And in Mr. Rivers' opinion, there is really nothing on the first page of the document that undermines the accusers, except for the fact that you have women saying they think they can leave and they want to go to London. He also said he really didn't have anything for page number 2. So in total, Mr. Rivers' opinion of the entire document is that it does not shed light on anything, nor does it really destroy the credibility of the accusers. He believes that if this documentation cannot be verified or authenticated, it wouldn't have even made it into court. That is how little he thinks of the document he was reviewing. Okay. But in the scenario, he gives a hypothetical. He said, in the scenario, it does make it into court, then you would have to get the women to testify and add context to the messages. So in my words, not his, the document alone was not enough to really put a nail in the coffin or be a silver bullet in this trial. Now, in his expert opinion and his interpretation of these chat logs, he says this is a situation where there's women who don't have the means to get where they need to go, and they're doing whatever they can to escape. So it sounds like, in Mr. Rivers' opinion, he actually thought this document inferred something negative against the Tates. Now, he specifically addresses human trafficking and misconceptions about it. He states that you can human traffic people without keeping them in miserable conditions. He says instead, you can restrict someone of their movement with psychological torture, or you can keep someone there with financial pressure. I would agree with him. Most commonly, when people think of human trafficking, they think of the miserable conditions. From my reading of the Romanian law, that's not what they're talking about, especially with the lover boy method. So I agree with Mr. Bruce Rivers. Then Mr. Rivers gives an example of human trafficking case that he was trying, where there were women from Thailand who came over to do sex work, but the women could never pay off their debt to the traffickers. Now, he said he took it to trial. He didn't say who he was defending, whether it was the women, whether it was the actual traffickers, but he then draws parallels from the case he did on human trafficking with the Andrew Tate case. Last point is Mr. Rivers stated that the prosecutors have a duty to turn over evidence that's in their possession that they know about that is favorable to the defense. He didn't say whether or not this was happening or not happening in the Andrew Tate case, but he said there is that obligation there and evidence should be turned over. Okay, that was his review of the edited 2-page WhatsApp chat log. Now, on February 17th, the next day, he got the full chat log and he did another video on that. So now that Mr. Rivers had the full transcript of the entire WhatsApp chat log of the two accusers, he read through it again, and he still interpreted the language in the document as women who were trying to survive their current situation, meaning that of, he doesn't say this, but inferred their situation of being controlled and manipulated by Andrew Tate. So, whereas in the first video, Mr. Rivers went, line by line and he picked it apart. In this one, he just gives his conclusion about the document. And then to support his argument, he goes ahead and plays videos of Andrew and Tristan Tate that have nothing to do with the WhatsApp chat log. Now, I understand why he did that, but I think it would have been better if he just continued with his analysis regarding the text and the actual document. But he's the expert. I will defer to him on everything. By him playing those other videos, I think you can easily show motive, mindset, intent, the character of the Tates. And I am not going to lie. These videos of Andrew and Tristan Tate looked really bad. Andrew looked like a pimp who looks down on the women who work for him. There's no way around it. So also in the video, it is real easy to see how when Andrew Tate is talking about his business tactics, to interpret that language as him manipulating to convince these women to come do cam work for him, and then for him to control them after so they keep working for him. And as for the Tristan Tate video, he just talks about how he likes banging a couple versions a year. The only other time I've heard people talk like that is Pablo Escobar. Man. Yeah, he looks bad. I'm not going to defend that. I'm not going to play that video either. I'll play the first two of Andrew Tate. You can go check out. I'll drop links below. But yes, they're choice edited videos that makes them look really bad. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play these videos of Andrew Tate. I'm going to link to Mr. Rivers' original video. He plays the video, starts and stops it, and adds his commentary. I'm just going to play it through, edit it, so you just get Andrew Tate talking. Then after that, I will discuss my opinion of how Mr. Rivers has approached the Andrew Tate case. All right, so through the magic of the internet, let me play these videos.
You will fucking, at some point in your future of webcamming, go on a date with a girl who you can tell is a complete whore. And you're going to be lazy. Because I've done it myself, and I thought, this girl's fucking slow. And just before you even bang her, you just say, look, have you ever tried webcam? Because you're busy. You want her to work. You don't care about anything else. You have enough sex at home. It's not about sex. Now it's about money. And you get lazy and and even though she's the biggest hoe in the world, she starts coming at you with some virtue bullshit. I would never do that. Hey, you're fucking horrible. You're disgusting. And then she'll run off and fuck some other guy she meets first night. These girls are that stupid that they think it's okay to go fuck a guy they barely know, but it's wrong to show their tits for them. These girls are that dumb. So don't do that. You have to fuck the girls first. Fuck them first. So your bottom bitch has to know you got their fucking hose. Know it. So look, we're going to run this business together. We're going to grow this business together. Right now, you're on camera and you're doing really good. In a year from now or 2 years from now, I don't want you on camera. I want you typing and the other girls. Let her sit there and go, yeah, career, selling a dream, career progression, all the shit they do in normal jobs to keep the fucking person slaving away. Eventually, you're going to hear, we're going to own this. You're going to make this much, blah, blah, blah. But the only way we can do that is if we go have all these threesomes with all these girls, because these girls have to work for us, and they're not going to work if they don't love me, because they're going to run off. So the only way me and you as a team are going to be rich people is if we go get a bunch of girls to suck my dick together. Do you agree? And if you do that right, she'll sit there.
So that was one I wanted to show you. So let's just watch this video about Vivian.
At it where I've had girls who say, oh, I know you're with Vivian. I know you've been with her a long time. I don't mind. I'll stay out tonight. You two stay alone. All that shit. But it never lasts long. Because the ones who are really in love with you won't do that. You actually have to downplay your relationship with the girl of 6 years. And I only get away with that because the girl of 6 years plays along. So Vivian's been with me completely head over heels, loving me. She wants kids with me, everything. And we met and we felt whatever, we're in love. But when a new girl comes, she'll go, oh yeah, I started off working for him and it's just how it worked out. Super downplay us. When I bring on new girls, I usually pair them with Vivian. Because Vivian's younger. Melissa's like 28, Vivian's like 21.
Vivian's 21. And at this point, he's been a girlfriend for 6 years. So you do the math. It means that they met when she was 15 years old.
Fun, more outgoing. Melissa's really quite, not in a bad way. She's more homey, boring, sits at home. So if you're going to pair a girl with a girl, it's much easier if the girl's fun. So a description of your relationship process with Vivian. So yeah, that's how it started. I met Vivian in Slovakia. We had a long-term relationship thing. I was living in England. It's a really long story. I don't want to tell you the whole story. I moved her to England to be with me to start doing my webcam company, which I started. If you don't have a webcam company, you need to look into it. As soon as you have a couple girls in love with you, it's the fucking easiest money in the world. No, I take that back. It's not easy money. You got to build it up. But once you get girls built up, then it's free money. Like every other business, you got to build it up. I decided I want to start a webcam business. Vivian's beautiful. I said, look, stop being a waitress. Come here, live with me. She came. Everything was fine for a couple of weeks. Melissa obviously lived in England. They didn't know about each other. They found out. They tried to have a big argument with me. I did exactly as I said, downplayed it, didn't give a shit. Everyone moved in together. Everyone started doing webcam. I was making loads of money. Then we agreed to the split, like we said. And that's basically been it. Since then, new girls have come along. Vivian understands that I'm fucking these hoes, but I don't care about these hoes.
All right. So Andrew Tate spoke for himself. I'm not going to comment on that other than, yeah, that's not a good look. So now let's get to Mr. Bruce Rivers and his approach and reaction videos to this case. I want to like him. He's smart. He's well-versed in criminal law. He has 25 years experience as a trial attorney. That is impressive. He's a super lawyer, which is basically attorneys nominate other attorneys for a publication that's called super lawyer. I believe it's per state. And, it's the most respected people, the top fish in relative areas of law. You got criminal, civil, employment law, all that other stuff. And so only, the top tier attorneys get voted into or receive the title for that year of super lawyer. He's done it for decades. So this guy knows what he's talking about. He seems pretty likable in a goofy, nerdy way. I'm here on Combative Nerds. Clearly, I'm a nerd, so I would appreciate that. But we probably both got picked on. He's a family man. I can't speak to that. I'm sure he's a good father and a good husband. He seems pretty down to earth. I don't like when attorneys are condescending, and attorneys are known for that. He seems like a pretty down to earth, salt of the earth type of guy. I appreciate that. And the thing I really respect about this guy is he's a hustler. He's very successful. He has a great, well-known law firm. He has a monstrous YouTube channel. He's done well for himself. I mean, he's out there crushing it. I think that's amazing. However, his style is not my cup of tea. And here's what I mean. I know he does a lot of ads, and I'm not knocking you for doing ads on your YouTube channel. I hope one day to be doing ads and have sponsors. But if I was to call his law firm, I'm not sure if I'd be signing a retainer or buying a used car. If I was to go meet him in person in his beautiful law firm, I'm not sure just exactly how allergic I will be to the waft of overpowering cologne this man likely wears. I mean, between the pinstripe suits, his French cuffs, he reminds me of a lot of my Middle Eastern buddies in law school. I miss those guys. I love them dearly, but they all have that look. I don't know what it is. I could never duplicate it. It just wasn't my style, but there's that certain presentation that, all of my buddies who were of that culture had, and Mr. Bruce Rivers had. So clearly it's not about the culture. I just don't know what Reddit forum or group chat that they all joined to know how to present themselves that way. And the only other analogy I could give about Mr. Rivers is if I met him at a function and we went to the bar, I'm not sure if he would have a delightful conversation with me about his favorite restaurant to have brunch because he loved their samosas. They were just fantastic and were delicious. Or if he would be the type of guy where I'm sitting in a Turkish spa catching a steam and he comes over, sits with his buddy in a towel, and speaks loudly about the happy ending he just got from the massage 10 minutes ago. I can't. And so, I'm poking fun. I'm a short, bald Mexican. Have at me. But that's where I wanted to end my opinion with him. Not my cup of tea, but he seems like a pretty good guy. God bless him, and I hope he remains successful and he has good health and happiness for the rest of his life. And that's where I wanted to leave it. However, while watching his videos, I started to notice certain things. And so I'm just going to go ahead and play some of this stuff and give you the next tier of my opinion of Mr. Rivers. All right, so let's go to the next video.
You, as a team, are going to be rich people is if we go get a bunch of girls to suck my dick together. Do you agree? And if you do that right, she'll sit there.
He is such a fucking scumbag. The only way this can work is if you get two other guys to suck my dick. Give me a break.
Okay, so he calls Andrew Tate a scumbag after Andrew Tate says some scummy things. Okay, fair enough. You agree, disagree, he's entitled to his opinion. Next clip I'm going to play of him was from the same video, and now he's talking about Andrew Tate fans. So let me cue that up.
Has sent their agents to get me. The Matrix has...
See, fucking laugh, because it's bullshit. The Matrix? You know why? Because there ain't no Matrix. There is. I mean, it's a way to really deflect from your own responsibility of what's going on. Because you got a lot of followers, right? You got a lot of guys, who are sitting there with Hustler University or Hustler Worldwide, wherever the fuck he calls it now, sitting in their mother's basement eating Cheetos and staining their underpants, jerking off to this guy. Here's the thing. There is no Matrix. And even his lawyer thinks it's stupid.
Okay. It's a pretty harsh criticism. Then I was watching a couple of his other videos and I didn't pull it. I should have. I apologize. But he multiple times referred to Andrew Tate fans as eating Cheetos, being in their mother's basement. He also calls them incels. And then there was this other one. Apparently someone commented on one of his videos. Probably a troll. It is what it is. And he posts this guy's comment, screen name, attacks him personally, and tells him, I'm a real lawyer. I'm a real attorney. I kick ass in court. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I just, if I knew Mr. Rivers personally, I would want to walk up to him, put my arm around him, and go, hey, how you doing, Bruce? How you been, man? And then just slowly walk him over to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym and take him on the mat, buy him a gi, I'll tie his belt for him, make sure he has a mouth guard and a cup. And I'd just put him in the class. And the reason is, look, I grew up in the hood. I spent 10 years around a bunch of bodybuilders who were semi-pro, pro, and a former Mr. Olympia. I heard tough guy talk. I then spent another 10 to 12 years on a mat, punching, kicking, strangling other humans. I heard tough guy talk there. I don't know what kind of ego it takes to talk about your white collar job over the internet to young men who are trying to defend their champion, whether champion is a good guy or not, but their champion who is offering a belief system to help them self-improve and take pride in themselves. And I just want to bury my head and teach him reality. Look, You can have your criticisms. You can make your legal analysis. At the end of the day, you won life, brother. You're a successful attorney in America in the greatest time to be alive. Why are you talking tough to people and putting them down? You won. Let's just be honest here. I'm a short 5'6" bald-headed Mexican. You look the way you look. If it was like 400 to 600 years ago, you would be shoveling shit in a stable. I would be working in the fields picking vegetables. Okay, so for anybody who just said I could still be doing that presently, fuck you. That's fair. It's hurtful, but it's fair. And you're missing the point. The point is, as a successful attorney, just have some dignity and grace. And I'm not saying don't respond to people. I'm not saying be the bigger person, but to call people incels hiding in their mother's basement, you're emasculating, you're dismissing them. It pissed me off. It completely pissed me off. And I was going to leave it there. But then I was watching another video from Mr. Rivers, and it was him talking about whether or not the 2 Romanian women were going to flip on Andrew Tate. And ultimately he said, they might, there's a good probability, but in this certain situation, the defense attorney needs to find out if everybody's working together and on the same page. I will link the video so you can check that out for himself. He gave a very good legal analysis as always. But I'm going to play a clip for you. And I know I kind of muddy the water for you. I want you to just listen to it, close your eyes, and just listen to it and try to be objective and just then pause this video and formulate your own opinion before you hear my opinion. Okay? So let's cue it up.
If I'm Andrew Tate's lawyers, I am doing whatever I can to find out 2 things. Are these girls snitching? And they may not be any way for them to do that. But if their lawyers won't, if they're not all working as a team, because when you have lawyers, co-defendants, like I tried a sex trafficking case, we had 5 lawyers, 5. We all had our client, and it was a massive conspiracy, and we all worked together, so we all knew we weren't snitching on each other. So as their lawyers, first thing I would do is okay, now that they're out, are they snitching? And if they don't want to talk, and if the lawyers aren't working together, they probably are. So that's one thing. The other thing is his team has got to be digging up as much dirt as they possibly can on the alleged victims, because there's a whole bunch of ways you can try to discredit them. And if they don't try to discredit them, they're toast. But I guarantee you, they're going to try to discredit them. And they'll do that by presenting evidence of either prior false allegations, or they're going to try to present evidence of, that they could come and go as they pleased. Yeah. And it's not just that. There's, and they're evidence of their greed. I mean, they're there. Why are they there? They're there to make money and be famous. They're there to be around Andrew Tate and suck up that atmosphere, among other things. So my sense on this is that this is going to be a really interesting trial.
All right. Pause it now. Think about it. Come back to me. All right. If you're back, did you catch it? I don't know if you did. Maybe you did. I saw that and I had to pause the video because I couldn't believe what, in my opinion, I saw. Mr. Rivers said that he was involved in defending someone charged with sex trafficking. Then he offered advice as a defense attorney in these type of cases for the defendant to dig up as much dirt as they possibly can on the alleged victim, because there is a whole bunch of ways to discredit the alleged victims. As an attorney, I understand where he's coming from. I understand winning the argument. I understand winning the case. I understand you were representative and you have a fiduciary duty to your client. I get that. What bothers me is how relaxed, confident, and unbothered he was when he was talking about defending someone who was in a human trafficking ring. Now, maybe, I don't know this man. Maybe he had the crisis of conscience. And he said, by doing justice, by making sure people get a fair trial, I am protecting all of the innocent people by upholding our judicial system. Maybe he had that crisis of conscience, and over time had morality eroded away from the injustice in our justice system, from the inequity, from watching good people do bad things and bad people doing good things. And that how everybody at some point is out there for themselves. I'm going to give you, Mr. Rivers, the same grace I gave Andrew Tate. I don't want to believe bad things about you. I don't want to believe that of you. So I did some digging. And on his website, I will pull it up and I will share my screen if we ever go video so you can see it yourself. He has practice areas on the right-hand side of his column. And it lists a bunch of crimes. And it says specifically sex crimes. And so I want to read you the whole thing. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. And I think part of this is fair. He says under the subtab of sex crimes, to be charged with a sex offense is a lose-lose proposition. Even if you win the case, it is excruciatingly painful and has a negative effect on your career, relationship, reputation. I agree. If you are falsely accused, it's horrendous. They understand the sensitivity of sex cases. They make no judgments of clients, as they should. And we focus on efforts of minimizing the pain that goes with the accusation against you. The truth is that many accusations of sex crimes are fabricated by people who are angry, confused, and unstable. I have no problem with that statement. We never lose sight of the cornerstone of our justice system, that a person is innocent until proven guilty. I agree completely. Sex crime defense attorney Bruce Rivers is board certified in criminal defense by the National Board of Trial Advocacy and as a criminal trial specialist by the Minnesota State Bar Association. Good for him. Our aim is to achieve the best possible outcome for you. Very often the result is dismissal in charges and clearing of your name. We pick apart the prosecution's case for weakness and we identify them. We argue for acquittal, reduction in charges, or minimum punishment. So, I understand that he loves defending innocent people falsely accused. I respect that. That last sentence of arguing for reduction in charges or minimum punishment is for people who were found guilty. Now, look, I get it. It sounds like I'm being a Boy Scout here. Criminal defense attorneys shouldn't defend people who are guilty. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is his website states that he defends sex crimes such as child molestation, child pornography, criminal sex conduct first degree, failure to register, prostitution, rape and statutory rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault, solicitation of minors. And this fucker tells people they're scumbags and insults people as they're eating Cheetos in their mother's basement and are incels? Look, when I talked about my good friend who was a defense attorney, he doesn't tell me about his cases. You want to know why? Because he understands that not everybody is going to agree with his moral positions, and he has to live with them. There is a certain amount of questioning that he'll do. When Mr. Rivers was talking about the sex trafficking case, there was no questioning of defending somebody like that. There was no distancing language. There was no qualifications to excuse what other people may have seen what he did bad. When you may be okay with doing it, but you understand. Let's say you live a life that your parents disagree with. You've accepted you, but you understand your parents won't, and you understand how other people won't agree with the decisions you're making in life. There's going to be some distancing. Hey, I get that you don't get this. Hey, I'm doing what I got to do. Hey, I'm doing this for the bigger reason of protecting freedom and innocent people. I didn't smell any of that when hearing Mr. Rivers talk about the Andrew Tate case, when talking about his other cases. Then you throw in the fact that in all his promos, he has his flashy cars, his pinstripe designer suits with his French cuffs and his cufflinks and his big watch, and he walks around like he's a baller and uses tough guy talk to young men on the internet, disrespecting them. Let me ask you, how much do you think Mr. Rivers would charge a retainer to Andrew Tate, who he thinks is a scumbag? Think you wouldn't take him as a client? I think you'd be wrong if that's what you think. So, I made this personal? Okay, I understand that. I hope I'm wrong. I will happily apologize to you, sir. I don't have an issue with what you do. Well, I'm sorry. That is a lie. I do have an issue with what you do, but I am wrong. I understand what you do is important and needed, whether they're innocent, whether they're guilty. But where I cannot pass go is how flippant you are when speaking about those matters, how disrespectful you are and fucking judgmental when talking to other people liking a dislikable guy. I don't get it. I don't understand your ego. I don't understand your mindset. So, Mr. Rivers, I'm just going to summarize. You do not get to be judgmental, insulting, and use tough guy language when you are talking about your white-collar job over the internet to a bunch of young men who are trying to defend their mentor, whether he should or should not be, whether he is a good or not a good guy, doesn't matter. You don't get to do that while flashing your nice cars, your big office, your fancy suits behind a big desk that sexual predators paid for. You get to keep quiet when there's any moral judgments to be made. Keep making your legal analysis. Keep performing your career. But you don't get to talk to people like that. The majority of society would disagree with your moral perspective. Whether you're wrong or right is a debate to be had. But sir, I would just say, keep your moral judgments to yourself. My personal judgment, I could be wrong. Maybe people agree with me. Do you guys know the movie Seven? Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, the disgraced actor Kevin Spacey. In that movie, there is a serial killer, and he decides to kill people based on the 7 sins of the Bible. You know who the second victim was? There's a character named Ellie Gloud, at least in the comic. And that second victim was chosen by the serial killer because he was an attorney who became famous and wealthy from dishonesty, and he is selected by the serial killer because he represents a sin of greed. And this is the line what they say about the attorney who got killed. This is a man who dedicated his life to making money by lying with every breath that he could muster to keep murderers and rapists on the streets. Now, no violence. I'm pointing to the movie, not what should happen in real life. My point is, in a movie, they depicted somebody who was a defense attorney who was motivated by money, who protected awful people and kept them on the streets, as representing the sin of greed. That's in pop culture. That is an opinion of what that kind of conduct is. So, if this isn't a personal attack, then it is what it is. If I am wrong, I will deeply apologize and I will remove this video. But I want you guys to just have this food for thought behind the background when you hear people making judgments. Not saying Andrew Tate's guilty, not saying he's innocent. I don't like a lot of what this man has said. I do like a lot of the advice he's given, and I like how much he's helped young men, especially with the self-improvement, take pride of themselves. All I'm going to say is, Mr. Rivers, I'm not your cup of tea, I'm sure. You are far more successful, better than me at every metric, right? You win. I'll concede to all of that. I hope you have continued health, longevity, wealth, successful career. I hope you get a house in the Aspens where you can go skiing every winter, because when this journey ends, you might be going somewhere that's a little warm. I don't know how else to put it. So, all right. Thank you. A little personal. I apologize. I just have very strong opinions on this. And if you guys are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Catch you later. Bye.